Sorry, I'll stop smiling in a second. Hi everyone, it's your good friends here.
We're the SWS shooters.
And this is a special event because this is our first podcast.
It is.
And this is Professor Ian Ballinger and Dr. Christopher Elphick. We've got some topics for discussion. We may even have a few special guests lined up. And this is just going to be an informal chat about our experiences and our history air rifle shooting.
Have you got another surprise guest on top of what you've already informed me of, or are you over-egging the pudding to start things off?
Listen, we've only got one.
Clickbait already. Sorry about this. Thanks for coming.
Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to kick things off. Ian.
Hello.
Do you remember the first time you used an air rifle?
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me.
Okay. So I'd known you many years at this stage, and then during one summer party here at LMB, it came out, despite the fact I'd known you many years, that you shot guns, and there were 3 guns in the house at that very moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was gobsmacked. I was like, why have you never told me that you shoot guns? How cool is that? And then you got the gun, and it was a Springer of some description. I don't know the name.
It was a Viroc HW77K.
It's heavy.
Big, heavy 177.
A heavy gun, and you put a little can up on the post, and we shot the can.
And that was the first time you'd ever used an air rifle?
Offhand. It was offhand, wasn't it? And it was hard, and I loved it. I couldn't believe that you had been shooting guns your whole life and that you'd never told me despite all the years I've known you.
Did you have any experience using any kind of guns before that?
I'd shot some guns at a military shooting weekend in Riga.
Okay.
And I had shot some guns after a cricket match at like a country club that had a gun.
So you're talking like 12 balls and shotguns?
Yeah. Handgun at this military shooting thing as well. Not much shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was fun. Obviously, shooting guns is always fun.
So I remember the day you're talking about vividly. Because I remember Tron being there and she was using the...
you had the handgun.
The multi-shot pistol thing, right? And
Lizzie was there.
That's right. And Greg and Abs were there. And I think that was interesting because I didn't ever talk about air rifles, right? It wasn't as big a part of my life then as I think it is now. But I think for me, the big thing was during lockdown, getting that Viroc HW100, right? So this has been a important gun, I think, in both of our journeys.
Yeah, that was the first, not that the big Springer wasn't a proper gun, but more of the ilk of guns that we are accustomed to shooting now on a regular basis. That was definitely
and I think
a beauty.
It still comes up in conversation a lot. Most of the time we talk, it's often referenced, even in passing, about how that gun was like an important benchmark in our shooting journey.
I love that gun. I absolutely love that gun.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to get another one at some point. So talk to me about the sort of things we would do shooting that gun.
Well, then you've got so many targets. It's always been targets, hasn't it? 30 metres.
With that gun it was?
Yeah. Shooting little claymen and the ducks and all the cool stuff that we've got.
I think that because you talk about like 30 meters and the sorts of things we used to shoot, that was a really important gun, I think, for both of us in learning how to shoot. For the record, I think that you would shoot things that I couldn't believe that you could shoot. There's videos of you shooting. Do you remember? I think it's called Ian Shoots the Clayman.
Right. Yeah.
Do you remember this video?
Yeah.
It's just a little short one, and I think it's longer than 30 meters as well that you're shooting this. And
you can make things pop up on the screen at that stage.
Okay, I will do that. So there's some evidence of Ian using that gun that we're talking about, and where I'm leading to with this is that because it was my gun, about 6 months after owning it, I really liked it. But then that's when I started getting into Daystates, right? So I bought a used Pulsar, right?
Oh.
And I traded it in with the Viroc and an Air Arms S400 for my Red Wolf.
Yeah.
Now, where we're going with this is I want to ask Ian about some of his favourite guns that he's used over the last year. So I'm going to come completely clean with this. The gun that I kind of compare everything to is my Red Wolf.
Yeah.
Right. I absolutely love that gun. So I'm not asking you to say whether it's your favourite or not, but before we begin, just can you talk to me about your comments on the Red Wolf? And you can say anything you want.
Well, it was, first of all, it was very different, wasn't it? It's the first electronic gun I've ever shot.
Yeah.
So to go from the wire arc, which I absolutely loved, when I first started touching the trigger on the Red Wolf and it's shooting, I'm like, what is this? Because I'm used to the 2-stage trigger with, a bit more pressure, and that was the shooting style that I've become accustomed to. And then you quickly get used to the new.
Lots of people. So my friend Andy, he's visited, and he said that he was really surprised what the trigger felt like. Right, but you do get used to it very quick.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts about the gun?
Well, it was smooth like butter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You can tell if you're trading in 3 decent guns to get one.
Oh, and I had to pay money on top as well.
And cash monies.
Right, because it was a big ticket purchase, right?
It's not. Sometimes when you buy something that is luxury, the difference isn't noticeable. I think with the Red Wolf, you feel straight away everything about it is as good as it can be.
But that's very difficult. Like, I think the groupings are ridiculously good that you can get from it, right? But the real hard thing to get across in a video is how quality the gun is.
Yeah, I mean the actual piece itself, everything about it, it's just incredible. It looks amazing, it feels great, it shoulders lovely, it groups incredibly, it doesn't ever go wrong. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's my favourite gun right now. It's a difficult one to compare other things to, because I think partly for two of the reasons we've mentioned. It's one of the most high ticket items that you can buy gun wise, like commercially available, and the quality is so good. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't other guns from other manufacturers that we've enjoyed shooting over the last year.
No.
Right? So, talk to me. Could you pick 3 guns that you've really enjoyed shooting over the last year? Because we've shot a lot.
We have shot a lot. Most recently, that incredible Air Arms. We did a great review on that. Loads of fun.
So why did you like it? Why did you like it so much?
I liked how it looked straight away. That was a wood stock, wasn't it?
It was.
One-piece wood stock with stippling.
Yes, I think I might have got that. I think I might have said it wrong in the video.
I'm not sure.
Might have called it a different word, but yes, you're right.
Loves it. So again, just looks incredible. But then the whole action, how it feels, it was up there with the Red Wolf for me. Yeah, well, absolutely. So I think, and because as well, my concern with the Red Wolf is because it is so delicate, and you hardly need to touch it. Not just the trigger, the cocking arm as well. You could just literally take your little finger and cock the gun and push it back. It's so, you feel like sometimes you could easily yank it off.
Sure. I agree.
Some of them are so stiff. If you were used to my Walther RM8, and you went onto a Red Wolf, you would be holding that cocking arm, apologising to someone about breaking their very expensive gun. And what I liked about the Air Arms is, whilst it was quality in every way and it felt lovely in your hand and it looked great, it had a bit more strength about it. Maybe the
Sure.
cocking arm.
Yeah.
It wasn't loose, but it wasn't stiff. You felt the spring, and you knew when you'd cocked it. The trigger was what I'm more preferring with the 2-stage. And
So do you prefer a mechanical trigger over an electronic one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, I mean, you get used to an electronic trigger. You get used to anything if you use something for enough time.
Yeah.
But my preference is to have a resting with the trigger in the first stage.
Right. I've noticed that when you shoot. Yes.
And then,
absolutely.
And then make sure everything is just so, and then go again.
So.
And then having your resting like with your finger touching with the lightest possible pressure doesn't feel as comfortable as when it's locked in a mini groove.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
Not that these are insignificant, minute details. You understand?
But I think they're important to.
Because if I owned a Daystate Red Wolf, I'd be happy as a pig in poo.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be whinging about the electronic trigger. You understand?
I mean, like for me personally, I think that you can get some mechanical triggers that are very close to how the electronic trigger of the Red Wolf feels.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I wouldn't say that I really have a preference. In all honesty, like I think, like you say, you can get used to anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I really love about the Red Wolf's trigger is that it makes me think a lot more about what it is I'm shooting. Because, and again, you're talking about like imperceptible differences here. The amount of pressure you have to apply is tiny,
Yeah.
right? And I think that translates downrange into tighter groupings because you have less movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really pleased that you mentioned that Air Arms. I think they're absolutely killing it at the moment with some of their.
And what does that cost? I don't know about guns or costs. I just like shoots.
That was up for £625, and that was used.
It was. I was absolutely gobsmacked, wasn't I?
And I think new they're about 900.
Wow.
And I think that's a really good price because of the so the thing that I liked about that gun was how there was no pellet testing involved. Right, we just I can't even remember what the pellets were, but we just put the first pellet in, and the groups we were getting were crazy, right? And we looked at each other and we were like, look, right, let's start rolling, right? Because a bit like this, we don't really do a lot of prep work, do we? We use the guns for a while, but we don't.
You're over egging the pudding again, aren't you? Because that implies any prep work is done, and the answer is no. There's zero prep work.
But that doesn't mean. For the record as well, I think this is important. Like, I will get the gun and shoot it for a while and maybe put a scope on it and try and like find the right pellets, and then we'll roll. We'll give our opinions on the guns.
I love the zeroing in.
Oh yeah, we spent a long time doing it.
Yeah, so just that first hour on a nice sunny day when you haven't got cold hands.
Yeah, there's no wind.
And you'll put the board up. We like big sheet of cardboard, various dots on it, and we'll take a mag. If the pellets are everywhere, then we'll
discard the pellet.
Test some new pellets.
That is quite fun, actually.
Yeah, we'll go through 8-9 different pellets, and then the ones that have got the best grouping, then that's the one we're going to properly zero in and
use
play
for the
with.
video.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a fun time.
But they're things that I didn't appreciate when we started, right? Like little things like that, and I think they'll be the subject of other videos. What are some other guns that you've enjoyed using over the last year?
Well, I think the Wolverine.
Yep.
Was, that is the Red Wolf with a bit more oomph about it in many ways.
What do you mean?
Well, is it basically a mechanical version of the Red Wolf? In many ways.
If I was describing to people, I would say yes. To be honest, I mean,
and the cocking arm is a bit firmer, and the trigger is a normal mechanical trigger, and in every other way, it is that monster that we know and love so well.
So that feature,
but we haven't shot that as much. I certainly haven't shot that as much. I think just one session.
Yeah, that was on Boxing Day,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
So I want to shoot that a lot more.
Yes, yeah, and we will get the chance to. Yeah, I'm still experimenting with pellets. I actually like light pellets, believe it or not. I'm having a lot of luck with RS pellets.
A really good Wolverine versus Red Wolf.
That will happen. That should definitely happen soon. All right, one more. What's another gun that you've enjoyed shooting last year?
Well, in the best guns, and I know it's not in the last year, but the Wire Arc is that special place in my heart.
Okay.
Will always have. That was the gun that showed me that this was something I would really enjoy doing as a hobby.
I was very surprised how good you were naturally at shooting, and to be able to like graduate straight away to that kind of gun, I think is rare, because I spent like my childhood using a BSA Meteor running around here, and so a BSA Meteor is I think an iconic air rifle that I think my parents bought from Trago Mills.
Everybody loves it.
For me and my brother, and I think my sister as well. But we would shoot using it, and we were happy as Larry because we didn't know anything else, right? We had open sights. We were just like shooting targets and tins and whatever. And at university, when I was probably 18 or 19, I remember going with my sister. I used to call it the yellow newspaper. I think it was called the Diamond Free Ads that sold secondhand things, and that's where I found the Varrock HW77K, the heavy single shot, and I used that for a long time, 17 years or something, or whatever, just on and off. And that's like, and I would never talk to you. Like, our relationship was more around like the Exeter party scene, right, and music and gigs and stuff like that. And it was only until like we were hanging out, I was like, oh yeah, shall we have a little shoot? And you had no idea that I had this sort of like interest, right?
Yeah. Well, because I knew that you and Abs had been played shooting.
Yes.
You'd done quite a bit of shotgun shooting the previous few years.
Yeah.
And so I knew that you had done that many times. But that was just brand new information. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree. So like there was some things, and I want you to comment on this, whether the only criticism I had of the HW100, believe it or not, was that we had to fill it up every 4 mags.
Yeah.
That was the only problem.
And this was pre-kit days.
Yeah.
He was pumping that. Got to pump it up.
But
I'd just be singing next to him,
right.
and he'd be pumping
But
away.
we'd be up the hill, right?
Yeah.
So I'd run down, get the pump and like run back or whatever, so that would raise my heart rate. Then I would have to pump it like 100 times, yeah? And I would sometimes sit down and I could feel my heart, like, and I would be trying to calm down because like, believe it or not, you may not know to look at me, I do work out, let's put it that way. So I know I could get my heart rate down pretty quick, but not quick enough sometimes, right? And one of the things that I really still appreciate even now is having those bottles to fill the guns up. Right? It's so much easier.
I appreciated having you to pump it up every single time. I don't think I pumped it up once.
But you would prepare the mags.
Yeah.
You know, so like
much easier.
It was. I didn't mind, man. I mean, like.
And go and get the targets. You weren't a big fan of getting things.
No, but I think it was equal near the end, right? Yeah. Like, you know, it all worked out. What do you enjoy about shooting?
It's just hanging out, enjoying a sunny day, isn't it? You know, when you get older, it's harder to dedicate like a 7-hour chunk of something. So I've been less involved in cricket over the last few summers, because that is all day Saturday, every Saturday in the summer. But we can just do something for an hour or 2.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4, you know, if we've got the time.
We have spent whole days outside.
Of course we have. And loved it. But when you haven't got all day, you can have an hour
Oh yeah.
and love it. So, hobbies where you can just slot them in when it suits. That's really nice. But just being out there, enjoying it, shooting stuff. I mean, shooting is fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You mentioned this in your answer, the hanging out part.
Yeah.
Right. I really like the fact that we, because I don't think we actually have, maybe aside from boxing, like that many interests where the concentric circles overlap, do we?
No.
Right? Like I'm a big critic of like indie music and some of the stuff you listen to, and vice versa. I know that, right? But like the fact that we're kind of disparate people and we have this passion. I mean, we're friends, right? Like there's no getting away from that, right? But like the fact that we can just do that, and it's not like we're talking either, is it? It's not like we spend 7 hours like philosophically debating whatever. We're just shooting, and we're like, oh yeah, have you tried this? Like, who can outcompete one another? And I really like it when we have like shootouts. There's been plenty off camera as well as the ones that have featured in Good Eye Sniper, and
a lot of my victories don't make it to the channel.
Yeah, that's not true. I really like that aspect too. And I really like the guns as sort of like objects. I think they look beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Like they handle really nicely.
What's the best looking gun then?
I think it's the Pulsar or the Renegade, but they're bullpups. And here's I'm going to say this for the first time. I think I'm going to be new here. I'm coming around to your way of thinking here. I don't think I like bullpups.
I don't like bullpups. I've never liked bullpups. And I think because I don't shoot offhand, where a bullpup would almost certainly come into its own for its weight and how tactile it is and everything else, that's almost certainly where the bullpup's going to come into its own. And that's where I don't use it in that environment. So for me, it just doesn't sit on the stand as well as a rifle. No. And that's really all I care about. And because I've got that stupid... well, it's called
the Ballinger hold.
The Ballinger hold, where I'm not holding the stock of the gun as is traditional. I just kind of like flop it on the stock by my shoulder. There's not enough room for my face and hand.
No. So I like so when it comes to like looks, I think the Renegade that I have is one of the coolest looking things in the world. Right. I also think. And I know I'm going to get flack for being a Daystate fanboy. I am, right? That's confirmed. I also think the Red Wolf is a killer looking gun. Like, I love the look of it.
They have, for me...
Go on.
They have better looking Red Wolves than the red and blue laminate.
Do you mean black and blue?
No, they've got a red and black and blue and black.
So which one's your favourite?
They've got a wood stock, haven't they?
Yeah.
Always the wood stock for me.
Okay.
Always the wood stock.
How interesting. What some other guns that I like?
Or like my RM8, all black, straight gangster.
Right.
So for me, everything black or a wood stock.
Okay, so I agree. I think the RM8 is an awesome looking gun, and one of the reasons why I like it is that stealthy black, mean looking gun. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if we're ever in a position, right, where I don't, this probably will never happen. If Daystate were to say, design a gun to me, right?
I can confirm it won't happen.
Right. It would be a rifle looking gun rather than a bullpup.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would definitely have it all black.
Yeah.
Right. But what would happen, right? It would be heat sensitive. So when you had your hand on the gun, right, like those shirts in like the early 90s where you put your hand on and they would change colour?
Global hypercolour.
That would be the stock. So it would go from black to green.
Oh, not fluorescent multi-colour tie-dye?
No. It would just go from...
No, we should have the global hypercolour stroke Dr. Christopher Elphick Daystate rifle.
I would call it...
And it goes multicolour tie-dye.
It would be... So what it would be is, Daystate, they're all like Red Wolf, Timber Wolf, Red Wolf, those sorts of things. I wanted to call the Daystate Reptile, right? And it would be black and green. That's really all I thought of so far. But I do like the black look in stock. I know that idea is not, it probably wouldn't be a very big seller, but in other answer to your question, do you remember back in the day we had those BSA Ultras that were jam?
Yeah.
I really like the look of those. They were nice and small. I could shoot crazy distances offhand with those because they were so light. I really liked how using those guns.
But so for me, the air arms. Is it the S510?
Yep. You like the look of that?
That one piece, whatever it was.
Just one piece, I think.
You suggested two things.
Walnut stock.
You said it might be walnut or beech, I think, during the video. But whatever it is, delightful.
Yeah. I think it's a super, super classy gun, and I think that for like, it's still a significant amount of money. I think that without spending obscene amount of money on guns, like people can, I think air arms are the best bang for the buck gun you can buy.
Well, I'm still shocked that that amazing gun is coming in. I know it's without scope and all the rest of it, but still,
Yeah.
if you can get one for 600 and whatever you said, second hand, which I would always advise if you can get one. That one was mint condition.
Yeah.
No surprise it sold instantly.
Well, yeah, it sold to my neighbour.
Yeah.
Like
Saw the video.
He saw the video, and then he messaged me, and then he bought the gun.
But if you can get, for me, if you can get a gun outside of your price range in really good condition second hand, for me that's the way. And you're often going to get a warranty if you buy it second hand from a gun shop anyway. So.
Yeah, like crack shop. Are there any guns that you haven't liked using?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
What was that Spanish? Began with a C.
Oh, the Cometa.
And wasn't that £1,000?
With the scope it was, yeah. Was it called a Lynx Mark II?
The Lynx, yeah. Grouped like a shotgun. Rank. Looked okay. It didn't look awful.
No.
But it shot terribly. And maybe we just didn't put enough time into finding the right pellet. And
Dude, I think we did.
We did try no, we didn't shortchange it. We tried many pellets, and I think, none of them grouped nicely. It was not great.
It was. I think
that was after a barrel clean. That was
extensive barrel clean. Right, I'd spent a long time cleaning the barrel, letting the barrel back in, and it would group really badly. I think the best thing we can say about the gun is it looks okay. Yeah. Right? It's not a ringing endorsement for the gun. No,
but then when you think, and it's always about comparing what is available, isn't it? Whether you're buying a new gun or a second-hand gun, you know how much money you have to spend. So then what you need to do is make sure you're getting the best gun for what is available in your budget. And to think that air arms would have come in a bit cheaper than that is baffling.
There's no comparison, is there?
It absolutely blows my mind, that does.
You would be but even from a new price point, like regardless of the second hand thing, if it was a choice between buying that air arms new or that Cometa, buy the air arms. Right? Don't waste your time. All right, then. This has inspired me to think of something.
But also, almost every bullpup that I've shot, I have not enjoyed. So, in addition to that was a rifle, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. That Cometa. So, throw in the mix every bullpup.
Then there would be.
I just don't like them.
No.
Whether it was the Ellie's Wire Arc, or we've just had
Renegade.
Yeah, we've had so many of them.
Yeah,
good ones, like top end.
Oh yeah, and I can use them. I can honestly use them, but I think more as I've probably matured a little bit. I'm not saying that if you use a bullpup you're immature. As my tastes have matured, I know I can do better with a rifle, and that's all I need.
But this is again shooting using a stand in the environs where we are accustomed to shooting, and this is where the whole hobby is very tailored to your environment, where you're shooting, how far you're shooting, what you're shooting. all of those things are going to mean that you're going to have a different leaning for something that is slightly more important to you than someone in a different setting.
So like talking about that, using the Daystate Delta Wolf, I shot offhand in a way that I was really happy with at over 30 meters. Those little flippy targets, really, really good. Okay, and it was amazing as a bench gun as well. But the more I've thought about it, and I do think about it quite a lot, is that how much I prefer just regular rifles. And this was going to lead me on to the point, right?
Yeah, I would rather have my RM8 or the Air Arms S510 than any bullpup that I've shot, even the ones that are 4 times the price.
Okay, so then if you were, say you had a budget of £1,000 to buy a gun, what would you buy?
I'd get the Air Arms.
Did we use it last week?
The S510, yeah.
Yeah. If you had a budget of £500, what would you buy?
Unless I could get a killer deal of a gun that I actually wanted, second-hand, ready to go, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'd wait.
So are you saying that you would
I would wait until I had the money to buy a gun that I was actually wanting. If there was a price point where I didn't feel like I was going to get a gun that was going to, trip my trigger and make me excited to be shooting it, then I would wait and save the extra £100 or... So
are you including in that your RM8? Because you can find new there, just maybe a shade over £500, I think.
But what about with a scope and everything else? And
okay, good point.
So I would not be able to afford that unless I could get one nicely packaged with a scope for the money that I had. I'd save for a second-hand scope and stick it on, and then Bob's my uncle.
If I had £1,000 to spend on a gun, and I wanted the whole kit, if I was buying new, it would be an RM8 with like a fill tank and whatever like that, a Hawk scope, and whatever the pellets. And you'd have change from £1,000.
Yeah.
I think if it was second hand, definitely the Air Arms. But even new. I think shooting is a little bit strange because not only do you have the gun or the rifle that you're using, you also have all the accessory things, right? So like when we first started, we were using this stirrup pump. It's right here, right? This very one. Okay, I don't know why it's in the house. This was 40 quid, right? And it's done some work. It's definitely paid for itself, right? But then you're like, well, I need to get a tank. And then we got 2 tanks, and then you get all the assistant things. Then you need scope mounts, and then you need pellets, and then you need this and that. And I think that you can get some bargains secondhand. And I, like you, would always, if you can, get one from an RFD where there is a warranty in place.
Yeah.
I think that would be important. So that if an O-ring pops or whatever, they'll help you out, right? So it's a difficult one because I've seen like Wolverines and Red Wolves for a little bit more than 1,000, maybe 1,300. But if I was to keep it at 1,000 used, I think it's very, very difficult, or even new, to buy one of those Air Arms. Absolutely monstrous guns. I've even seen Air Arms Galahads, which are bullpups. So the Galahad is the same mechanics as the S400 and 500, but in a bullpup.
We shot one of those, didn't we?
We have, yeah.
I didn't like it.
No, I loved it. Really, really, really enjoyed it. I think it's very tough to beat Air Arms, but if money is no object, I talk about it all the time, and I've mentioned it a couple of times in this video, and in virtually every video, the Red Wolf is the ultimate gun.
I think maybe the Wolverine. I'd need to shoot the Wolverine more.
I wish you can. Like you're absolutely very welcome to.
We have one.
We have one. We do, courtesy of me being, or the channel being part of the Daystate Air Gun Support Pack. So we have access to that. Speaking of which, we have a special guest who's going to join us just virtually for proportion of this video. So
Wonderful segue.
I asked Tony Belas from Daystate,
What, the main man?
the big dog,
Yeah.
to ask a question. And I'm going to edit this in
Hi
now.
Chris, Tony Belas from Daystate here. Hope you're doing well. Great idea to do a podcast. My question is, in your experience shooting 12 foot-pound guns, does it matter that they're bang on the legal limit, 11.5 to 12 foot-pounds, or can you notice a difference on the target if they're doing, say, 10.5, which many second-hand and even some new guns can do, depending on the pellets used? Thanks for the opportunity. Speak to you soon.
So thank you very much for the question, Tony. And I think
mixing with the big dogs.
I think this is one that I should probably field.
Well, I am a noob in every way, so you have all the experience.
So first and foremost, obviously you don't want any gun to exceed 12 foot-pounds because then you have an illegal firearm.
In the UK.
In the UK.
With our UK laws, we know a lot of our viewers are American. You've been scoffing at that and our little toy guns.
But here is the thing. I think that it is folly to worry too much about the foot-poundage of your gun, right? So anyone that is... It's a mistake.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you're really focused on it being 12.5 to 12.8, to me, the difference between a gun firing at 10 foot-pounds and 11.5, it doesn't make as much difference, okay? Not anything that I'd be concerned about. And the reason for that being is that there have been two guns, one I've spoken to you about previously and one I'm going to reveal in a second, that are shooting below 11. So the HW100 that Ian and I used extensively a couple of years ago, that was shooting at like 10.3.
And I have nothing but love for that gun.
And we did take it out all the way at the top of the garden a couple of times. So that's well over 50 meters, 55, 60 meters. You're not going to get like pellet on pellet accuracy with that gun at that distance outside, but we could hit the spinners, we could hit claymen, there was no problem. Did you know this? The Wolverine, I've chronographed that, and that was shooting at 10.8.
Oh, okay.
Right? Did you, at any point when you were using the gun, think, oh my goodness me, this is shooting at 10.8, I need to go and get it tuned?
No. No, of course not. But it's all controlled environs, isn't it? And like I was saying before, if you're shooting at a certain range, then you know what your gun can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are keen to see us shooting at much further distances.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, because I am inexperienced when it comes to shooting different guns at different ranges, if the difference between 11.5 and 10.5 would have any effect or as great an effect, or how it would affect
I'm not
over 50, 60, 70 metres.
Yeah, so it might do then.
Or it might just be the arc, and again, if you have time and the environment to do it, then you can probably still control. If you know what the arc's going to be.
Sure, you could adapt to anything. I'm convinced, but I think I'm second guessing him here. But I think like in the question that Tony's asked, and I think it's a very clever question, is that like I do have experience of hearing people talk about, oh, this gun's shooting at 10.5, I need to go and get it tuned up. No, you don't. Okay? Right. You
see, I didn't know that was a thing.
Okay, you can absolutely be as happy as Larry shooting a gun that is shooting 10 foot-pounds, right? And now I don't know what the ballistic coefficients are and how it all translates. I'm not even sure that's the right term, but whatever that translates to in terms of like feet per second, I don't think it's going to be that detrimental. I think the more important thing is you as a shooter and the kind of pellets that you pick. So, for example, in Tony's question there, your pellet choice can have a big impact on the foot-pounds. So if you're using, I can't remember which way around it is, but one variety of pellet will have a higher foot-pound and one pellet will have a smaller. Now, again, I'm not really concerned on those numbers as long as they're below 12, right? Because I don't want to be caught with a firearm. I don't endorse that whatsoever. But as long as the gun is safe and it's doing what I want it to,
Mm-hmm.
that's the most important thing.
We only care about groupings.
Yeah, I'm not interested. It could be shooting 6 foot-pounds for all I care, right? It wouldn't in terms of the right theoretical physics here, but if it was and it was doing what I wanted it to, I wouldn't care. All right. Now, when you get a gun and you discover what pellets work for it, I think it is a magical thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right. When that kind of clicks,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, cool. I can go and buy a sleeve of these pellets, and I know I'm going to be, unless they change the dyes or whatever like that in the lead, but you're going to be good to go. So, in my experience, which is fairly limited, I'm not claiming that I know everything. I'm just talking from my perspective. It is not anything that I would be concerned about. For example, like when you buy a Daystate gun, they have a shot string from like a printout in the factory where they test them. Now that might be different if you use a different type of pellet, right? So again, as long as your gun is shooting legally and the gun is doing what you want, I wouldn't bother about it. I think that when you start going into like chronographing guns, you're opening up another can of worms that I don't feel we're ready to get into yet.
Okay.
That might be something.
Well, but just based on those 2 guns that I've shot, and know that I've loved shooting and been extremely pleased with the results of the shooting that I've done, I would also say, no bother, and just make sure you get those right pellets, because the pellets are key for what you know in the environment where you are shooting. That's very important.
So it would be things like, if you were to backtrack a little bit, making sure that the barrel of the gun is clean. Yeah. Right, because all of us know how much that can affect grouping. Having the right type of pellets. We've done extensive pellet testing over the last year and a half with different guns. Making sure that you have enough air in the gun. Like, that may seem redundant, but it is important. But
sometimes, especially when you're enjoying one of those days, you're in the zone, you're shooting, you're filling, you're shooting, you're filling, you're shooting, you're filling, and then you can get through a few mags in no time. It feels like the blink of an eye. We've both had a nice time. We've both shot a couple of mags, and then it's like, oh, what's happening here? And then it doesn't feel like you've filled it up recently, and it's time to do it again, because you get in that zone. And it is important that you just keep your eye on those things, especially if your gun is not regulated. Yeah, of course. Before we talk about that for a second, one of the things that I really like about the more modern guns that we've had access to is they're so well made, and they've got such bigger cylinders on that we can share a gun and not even charge it. We've got guns out of cases before, not even looked, because I know that they've been filled up recently. We can shoot for a couple of hours and not have to refill, or only fill the gun up once or something like that. That I really like. Now, the thing about the gun being regulated, that would be something that people need to also think about. Especially if you've got like the old wire arc that you so fondly recall pumping up every few mags. It would begin to... It can't escape your attention, can it? I think that gun had a kind of different system. I don't think it had a regular. I can't really remember, but I know that we would see the grouping begin to drop as it went into the red. So there was that literal sweet spot on the manometer where it'd be like 200 down to like 100. I think that shooting should be fun, right? And I have had a whale of a time getting into this more over the last 2 years, right? And for the record, I can't believe how well the channel's gone so far. We're coming up to the year anniversary now. I think February the 21st will be the anniversary of our first video. And we've done a lot in a year. A lot. Okay, we've shot lots of pellets. We've reviewed lots of guns. Shot more guns than we ever thought imaginable. Yes. So when I always joke about, like, in the film The Matrix, when they say we need guns, lots of guns, and all those, that's what it feels like. It's cool. That's what it feels like walking into Crack Shop. Yes. And I think that is, so there's there's 3 things that I think are worth mentioning. Like, the
the kind of collaborative stuff about when I said, hey, should we start a channel about shooting? Like, so I've got you to thank for that. I got to thank Crackshot as well for all of their help and everything that they've done since late August. And I've got to thank Daystate, Tony Belas in particular, for offering us a question here today, but also showing some interest and, you know, all the opportunities he's provided so far. So, you know, I want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
With that in mind,
what a ledge.
yeah, to ask a question is cool. So to finish, please ask us any questions about any of these points. We try and respond to all of the questions, although it's sometimes difficult because there are so many, but we try. And this will be something that we do more of, I think.
Yeah. Different
themes. And if you've got any questions you'd like to ask us for the next episode, please send them in and we'll
use the comment section below.
Like and subscribe. Boom. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
That's going to be awesome.
Another one take wonder, mate.